All right, great to be here today. Let me start with telling you a little journey how I got to do what I'm doing today. And I had a big transition in my career about 8 years ago or so, from academia going to industry to Mozilla. And I recently made a similar switch for similar reasons. So I will talk a little bit about why I did that and what I found so fascinating about Mozilla. And I will try to use that to explain to you what I found so fascinating last year that I quit my job at Mozilla. I'm one of those weird PhD types who likes to do research. So Paul, I think, very accurately described most of us. We are in grad school, we like to hack on stuff, and it's exciting, and then all of us want to get some academic position, and we are very hard to remove from the safety of academia to be placed in the industry. Mostly because we are very shielded. Like, you don't really talk much industry in most disciplines, and you don't really know what's on the other side of the fence. It's very comfortable in academia, and there's great things and very interesting. So I was, until maybe 8 years ago, essentially on a lifelong academic track. I was 6 years old when I decided I want to be a professor. And I have been working on that very diligently. And then 8 years ago, I ran into Brendan Eich, the co-founder and former CTO and short-time CEO of Mozilla. And at this point in my life, essentially, I was working on systems and performance. I make stuff go fast. That's my particular discipline in computer science originally. And I was writing all these papers, and on a good day, hundreds of people would read my papers, which is very exciting once you get to write those things. And I ran into Brendan, and he asked me whether I would like to take the stuff I'm doing at academia, and instead of hundreds of people reading my papers, whether it would be interesting if hundreds of millions of people use the stuff that I do. And that was a trick question. If you're a PhD, anyone asks you that question, walk away, or you will leave academia. Essentially, I ended up taking the bait, and I came up here to the Bay Area for about 3 months. That was the plan originally. And I worked on not the very beginnings of Firefox, but the very beginnings of a fast internet, essentially, or a fast web. Back then, JavaScript was a very slow language, and I used my dissertation research to make it a lot faster at Mozilla. And I never managed to leave again, essentially. I literally just called the university, sorry, I'm not coming back, I'm going to stay here. And I did that because I realized how amazing it is that there's this amazing stuff happening on the web, and everyone wants to make it go fast, and I can participate in that. It was a big revolution for me to see all of a sudden the web turn from a place that shows you documents to a place that runs programs. The next 7 or 8 years I did Mozilla. I did a couple different things that are not too interesting. The last year and a half or so, I was Mozilla's chief technology officer. It's one of the most awesome jobs in the world. You get to work on the web and all the things that I personally very much care about, which for me is security and privacy. I'm one of those people that would wear a tinfoil hat, except it's not very fashionable. And I got to work on the web, and every time there was a security problem for the web, I got to work on it and influence it, and especially as CTO, kind of steer a little bit the direction the web is taking by steering the way Mozilla would take a stance on these kind of positions. And at some point, working at Mozilla, I realized that a shift had happened that I barely noticed, where much of the things that could go wrong on the web that I so much enjoyed fixing, all of a sudden no longer happened where Mozilla really was focusing on. Mozilla is very much a desktop client-side technology company. And all of a sudden, a lot of the privacy and security concerns were no longer happening in the client. They were happening in the cloud. So these days, if your social security number is stolen somewhere online, it's usually not your browser's fault. And once I realized that much of this stuff actually is going wrong in the cloud these days, and Mozilla doesn't have a lot of influence over the cloud, I realized that I'm kind of working on the wrong thing. I will not be able to influence it much anymore on the client side. So that was the beginning of a journey for me that led essentially to leave Mozilla and found something else. And this something else is Silk Labs. And what we're trying to do is try to understand how we will architect the next generation of stuff that will connect us. It was the web for the last 20 years or so. We believe in a future where there's lots of connected devices around us. And we are very interested in understanding how data is being processed inside of that. And I'm trying to apply some of the things that I learned the last 8 years in that space. So what we're doing as a company is essentially, we are trying to help industry to make more intelligent devices. Everyone right now is selling you smart devices. And you go and you go in a Best Buy and buy yourself a smart light bulb. And a smart light bulb is a light bulb that when you come home, as it's dark in your room, you can take out your smartphone, you can unlock your smartphone, type in your unlock PIN, find the right app, launch the app, wait for it to launch, and then you find the right button, you click the button, and your light goes on. Essentially, your smart light, we have invented a light that's like 6 steps harder to use than a traditional light bulb that Edison invented 150 years ago. So smart is being used today often to kind of like compare or really express connected, and connected by itself is not necessarily intelligent. So what I mean is intelligent is like I come home and when it's dark inside and outside my place, 100% of the time I want to turn on the light. And my light switch, the traditional light switch, learns that at 0% of the time. Intelligent light is for me something that learns that, like yes, it's dark and he's here, and it's him, he's authorized to be here, I should probably turn on the light. And this is actually well within what's technically solvable, but the industry that builds those things, like connected lights, who makes connected lights? Philips. Philips is not really a company that makes software, or the necessary like machine learning, computer vision technology around it that knows how to make this really interesting. So that's what we are trying to solve as a company, essentially, make all the necessary pieces that goes in devices and smartphones in the cloud to make all this stuff talk to each other. And when we created the company a little bit over a year ago, we had no idea just how deep that would take us into computer vision problems, and also, to a good part, applying the same technology stack to solving audio problems. And we learned a bunch of interesting things about pretty much the same problem that I left Mozilla over, like client, server, where do you do what, and how this kind of technology influences the way we will build stuff like this in the future.